All right, doing my first live stream, getting all kinds of pop-up notifications for what I'm supposed to do as a moderator. Anyway, happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome. In this video, I want to quickly share something with you that has been absolutely life-changing for me when it comes to handling rough days. We all have rough days, right? I don't care how well put together you are. I don't care how good your life is, etc. We are all eventually going to have rough days, right? You with me? If you're anything like me, if you can relate to me, a lot of the typical just be positive, just think positive type advice out there, be grateful for what you have, it doesn't work in the moment when I'm actually having that super shitty day, that rough day. You with me? I do have a gratitude practice. Over time, if you're consistent with it, it does work to make you an overall more positive person. But in the moment, like here right now, if you're having a really rough day, a rough few days, a rough week, going through a rough chapter, or you're about to go into having the umpteenth rough, difficult conversation with a spouse, a significant other, your boss, a coworker, right? A client, just dealing with stuff, health issues, money issues. Right now, here in the moment, a lot of times for me, that positive Pollyanna stuff just doesn't work. So I've got two different methods that you can use that work within minutes, and they genuinely work to help you feel more positive, to help you feel less negative, to just kind of shovel the shit with less stress and pain, if that makes sense. And without forcing or faking a positivity, which to me, forcing and faking positivity is toxic positivity. So let me give you these two methods. Try them out. Would love to hear what they do for you. Now, before I give you the two methods, really quickly, let me share this. As humans, we are naturally wired to be a little bit more negative than positive, right? Part of that is just simply our survival instinct, looking out for danger, looking out for bad things, making sure that we survive. And because of that, we will work harder to keep somebody from stealing $100,000 than we would to go get $100,000. You with me? Just naturally speaking, like think for yourself. If you had 100 grand in the bank account, or scenario one, somebody gives you an opportunity to make 100 grand. Scenario two, you have 100 grand in the bank account and somebody's trying to steal it. Which would you work harder at to accomplish? Earning the potential 100 grand or keeping some person from stealing the 100 grand you already earned and have? By and large, by default, most people will work way harder to keep some clown from stealing $100,000 from us that we already earned and put away into the bank account. I shared that to set us up for the two methods, and that is that because we are naturally wired to be a little bit more negative and pessimistic due to our survival mechanisms in our brain. They're hardwired into our DNA. When we try to do Pollyanna positive thinking, just be positive, from my perspective, we're actually fighting our natural wiring. We're fighting against who we already are, which is an uphill battle, right? And then two, what you're trying to do, it seems to me, is suppress and push down the thing that's already there. And so the more you push against it, the more it pushes back. You with me? So it's like for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. You with me? So instead of trying to fight against feeling negative on rough days, rough chapters in our life, rough patches, there's a way to be able to harness our natural proclivity to negativity and actually use it without forcing positivity. Here's the first way to do it. The first way to do it is what psychologists call mental subtraction. So what you do, and what I do, this really works for me, again, this is one of two ways, is I imagine that whatever is in my life suddenly doesn't exist. So you can do this with any area of your life. Let's say I'm about to have a difficult conversation with somebody who's been in my life for a long time, family member, sibling, right? What I can do, if you go into the negative conversation, or if you go into the conversation with a negative assumption, assuming this is going to be the umpteenth time we're having this bullshit conversation again, it's going to go X, Y, and Z. What helps is before you meet with them, before you talk with them, before you call them on the phone, whatever the interaction is going to be, take a few minutes to imagine that they died yesterday, that they're gone. Take a few minutes to imagine that they died 6 months ago. Imagine that they were never in your life, period. So you're mentally subtracting them from your life. You with me? What happens when you mentally subtract something is that and truly imagine it and feel it, it creates a vacuum, and you automatically fill in all the things that you would have lost out on because we're already pre-wired to be a little bit more negative than positive. Remember what I said earlier about harnessing our natural wiring to be a little bit more negative because of our survival wiring. So just like when you see a kid playing with a toy or not playing with a toy, but then when another little kid walks up and grabs that toy, suddenly the first kid wants it. This is what we're actually doing as an adult. So we are anticipating this negative. I'm in this hypothetical scenario. I am anticipating a negative experience with the person I'm about to have a conversation with. But if I imagine that they're gone, dead, been gone for 6 months, maybe never been in my life, suddenly my brain will naturally fill in the vacuum of, oh no, I want that. Don't take that away. And what happens is that your brain will think of and come up with all the positive things that you do appreciate about them. Now, to take this farther, you can do this with a long list of things in your life. So imagine that right now you feel like your life is just shit. And life is so rough and you're just shoveling shit every day. You're going through a really rough patch. Go through and mentally subtract everything you have in your life one at a time. Subtract the home you live in. Subtract the friends you have one at a time, remove them. Subtract the family members you have one at a time, remove them. Subtract the income that you do have, the money that you do have. Maybe it's not a lot, but subtract what you do have. Subtract the health that you do have. Imagine if it was worse. And then really imagine what it would be like if you didn't have the home that you're in, didn't have the money that you have, had even less, didn't have the health that you have, but maybe you're in a wheelchair, don't have a leg, whatever might be a worse scenario than where you're at now. What happens is that if you take 15 to 20 minutes to really just sit down, even 5 minutes, to just imagine what that would be like, what happens is you process the negativity by even now taking the negativity to a further extreme through mental subtraction, that suddenly your brain goes, whoa, that would really suck. You know what? We're okay with where we're at. We're going to make this work. It'll all work out. Future looks bright. I'm telling you, it's until you've tried it, you might not even be able to fully appreciate how well this works. Because what happens is that it's like if you're about to argue with your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever, your boss, your coworker. Okay, your boss. So imagine if you didn't have the job. Imagine if you got fired yesterday. What kind of freak out panic mode would you be in now? Right? Imagine if you hadn't been working at your job for the last 6 months. Again, hypothetical scenario. Imagine if you'd been working at a job that paid you half as much. Whoa. You see what I'm saying? So instead of trying to push down the negative feelings that you are naturally having by forcing some kind of, trying to mask it and force it with some kind of fake positivity, no, let the negativity run and actually help it be 10x worse by mentally subtracting what it is that you think is the cause or the source of negativity. By doing that, again, your brain suddenly goes, whoa. I don't want all that, truck. Let's back up a minute. Actually, where we're at is manageable and doable. And so what happens is that your emotional center, your baseline, it shifts to being more neutral. instead of being as negative as you were feeling. And my friend, if you're feeling negative and going through a rough patch, real talk, just getting to neutrality, just feeling neutral is a major bleepity bleep win, right? Bleeping out my natural tendency to cuss. Getting to just neutral, feeling just neutral is a win, right? Especially if you're going through a really negative, rough patch. So that's, and by the way, you can also even go deeper with this as a written exercise. So you could sit down and once a week, once a month, do a written exercise of, like, let's say you're just feeling grouchy and ungrateful and going through a rough patch, which, by the way, for the last few months, I've been going through hell on multiple fronts. And I've been doing this. I'll sit down and write out, okay, well, imagine if I was in a wheelchair and I was paralyzed from the waist down. How would I feel about that life then? Imagine I didn't live in a nice, beautiful, $1 million, 4-story townhome, right? Imagine if I was homeless, like I used to be way back in the day when I slept in my 1996 puke green Jeep Cherokee, and I sometimes slept in the warehouse that I worked in if the other people who were working there left early enough, and I showered at 24-hour fitness. What if I went back to that time, right? What if I got difficult clients and problems? Yeah. What if I didn't have this business though? What if I had to wake up and go to a construction job site and work manual labor like I used to have to back in the day? What if I was back to having to stock shelves on the midnight graveyard shift at Winco like I once had to do to make ends meet and have some food to eat? And so what happens is that when I subtract what I do have and take it away from myself mentally, playing like this mental war game, right? Suddenly my brain goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, time out, time out. I don't want to go back to 24-hour fitness and sleeping in a Jeep in a warehouse and stocking shelves at midnight at Winco, which are all real things that I did in my past, right? I'm really happy with the few aches I have in the body because God forbid that I'm in a wheelchair paralyzed from the waist down, right? Look at this beautiful home, right? Are you kidding yourself, Andre? Chill out. So what'll happen again is your brain will use the negativity that we're naturally wired for to create a really extreme war game, play war games, hypothetical games, and play out a scenario where you've subtracted everything you have. Woo! You don't have to force positivity. Then suddenly, naturally, you're like, wow, I'm so thankful for this. Like the adage goes, right? Some guy was upset and crying that he didn't have any shoes until he was walking down the street and saw somebody who didn't have any feet. That kind of a thing. You with me? But psychologists call this mental subtraction. So use that, try it. It works in the moment mentally. It works within 30 seconds before going into a negative situation. Or let's say you're having a rough patch and then some sort of an upcoming interaction is going to require your patience and you're like, I'm on my last nerve. I don't got this kind of patience. My friend, you do. You got to do a mindset shift. But again, instead of faking it and forcing it, try to shove that negative stuff down, which makes it even stronger and worse, because for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Nah, let it run, max out the negativity, use that negative wiring, and real fast your brain will go, whoa, Nelly, dial it back in, homie, we good. Let's just get neutral. Second move, second strategy. Again, you're going through a rough patch, you're having a rough day, you're having a rough week, whatever it might be, right? Imagine that you're 20 years older than you are right now today, 30, 40 years older than you are today, okay? What wouldn't you give? What wouldn't you give to come back to this moment right now with the health that you have right now and be able to relive this moment? So, again, this is an example of where we take things for granted so often, right? But imagine you're 20, 30 years older. I do this a lot nowadays, especially when I'm complaining about my body not being where I want it to be or the strength not being where I want it to be or just, me just belly aching about something because we take things for granted. What I do is I say, okay, imagine I'm 37 years old right now. So I'm like, okay, imagine I'm 57, 67. 77. Imagine if I'm 67 or 77 years old, right? 30, 40 years older. If I had an opportunity to come back to this moment right now and have the exact same rough chapter of my life, meaning I have to come back to the exact same circumstances that I'm dealing with right now, right? But I get to come back to this level of health, this level of energy and vitality, this level of youth. What wouldn't I give to get to do that? What wouldn't you give to? There's probably dang near about nothing that you wouldn't give or trade in to be able to come back to this moment and deal with the exact same circumstances, rough patch that you're dealing with now, but 40 years younger. Does that make sense? And so now here's the thing. Imagine that you did, just like in some sci-fi movie, get to come back 40 years and you're the 40 years older version of yourself coming back to this moment right now, and you're getting a second chance to relive this moment right now, and you were about to live it as wrongly as you were about to do so. Right? So again, if I'm in a negative state, I'm probably going to not show up as the best version of me, right? You with me? But 40 years from now, if I had a chance to come back to this exact rough patch that I'm in right now, hypothetically, and have to deal with it all over again, but with this level of health and vitality and energy back, I imagine I would be so bloody grateful for that opportunity. You with me? Like, I imagine that I would just be over the moon, ecstatic. I'll probably cry in just bliss and happiness. And I would be so grateful for the opportunity to shovel this shit again and deal with it again. And I feel like a part of the reason why this works is because we get so close to our problem, right? Like, it's so close to our face that we start missing the forest for the tree, right? Metaphorically speaking. And this is like this exercise that I'm talking about, where you imagine yourself 20 to 40 years older and getting an opportunity to come back to this level of energy and health. It's sort of like zooming out and getting perspective, reorienting yourself to what truly matters, right? So it's like you're coming home from a long day and your significant other, spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, family are at home, and you're like, ugh, gotta deal with them. Imagine if you pull up in the driveway and sit in your car for a minute, and you imagine yourself 40 years older, the house is empty. You're old. Life has basically passed by. Whatever's happened has happened. How would you feel if you could come back to that tired day in the driveway and relive it? And so the game is, imagine that you are right now getting a second chance to relive this moment and redo this moment. And the first time you did it as wrongly as you're about to do it. Dude, I'm telling you, sometimes this exercise, especially with a little bit of music in my head, like some kind of soft music, right, or lo-fi music, it will honestly give me chills. Like, it'll give me like goosebumps. I have a really I'm good at like visualizing things and picturing things. I think you probably are. Most of us are. But when I do this, it's like it hits home and in my heart in such a way that I can't even really describe it. But it's so good for recentering me, getting recentered. And again, I'm not forcing fake positivity. You dig? Instead, I'm realizing, what the beep wouldn't I give 40 years from now to come back to this moment? Wow. I'd give anything, really, almost. If I would feel that way 40 years from now, why don't I feel as grateful or as thankful and just happy now? And so again, by doing this exercise and harnessing our natural nature for negative thinking due to our survival wiring, instead of forcing fake positivity by playing this game of contrast, right? And taking a step back and zooming out and getting to see the big picture like this, when you zoom back into the moment that you're in, you are way closer to neutral without forcing it. Your brain naturally goes, yeah, you're right. We're never going to get to relive this moment. This is it. This is life. Let's make the most of it. The one of the things that I say, and I've said this in other videos, is when I go through this mental exercise, the air smells fresher, the sun shines brighter, people are just better in my mind. Everything's just better without forcing fake positivity, which actually is almost neurotic, right? And kind of like you keep suppressing this growing energy in you of being pissed off, especially if you've been going through a negative chapter or a rough patch in life for a while. It actually makes everything worse, kind of, for me. It's like they say, the more you desire something, the bigger the gap is that you feel for not having it, right? So this is a way where instead of trying to force positivity, which creates even a bigger contrast between where you're at and what you're trying to feel, so that makes you feel even worse in and of itself, instead of trying to force it, you let go and say, all right, let's play this mental game. And these two methods, I'm telling you, game changers, life changers. And you can also, if you're a thinker and a writer like me, you can also sit down once a week, once a month, and do this exercise of contrast 30, 40 years out for your whole overall month, week, day, even as a written exercise, right? So you can say, all right, I got this week coming up and I'm dealing with this seven ring shit show that's called my life right now. Now imagine I'm 40 years older, I'm 77. Looking back, what advice would I give myself? You know what you're going to find out? You're going to find out just how capable you are of self-coaching, self-leadership, and actually just how intuitive and wise you really are. You got more in you than you're capable. You have more within you than you even realize. You're capable. We as humans are capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. Because again, a lot of times we're just missing the forest for the trees because we're so face nose deep in our problems that we miss the forest for the trees. Got to zoom out. So those are my two strategies, methods that I use when I'm handling a rough day, a rough week, a rough patch in my life without forcing fake positivity, Pollyanna bullshit, putting on a fake smile and feeling like crazier and more pissed off inside. It actually just naturally works to diffuse the negative energy, to let it out, to kind of just air it out, diffuse it. And it actually replaces it naturally without any forcing it. A much more appreciative, grateful stance and posture for life with a genuine shift internally. And again, like I said before, if you're feeling super negative and really in a rough patch, just getting to neutral is a big win, my friend. You with me? You can relate. If you've been through some negative patches in your life, you know what I'm talking about. Just getting to neutral is a win. And these two mental exercises get me to neutral faster than anything else. And you can even do them back to back and concurrently, or you can pick the one that you like the best and use it. You with me? So that's the message for today. Try this out. I promise you, it's a game changer. It's a life changer. If you've been with me this long, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, hit the bell notification button, subscribe so you can get don't miss videos from me in the future. And I'd love to read any comment from you on what you think about this or any tips that you have for what works for you. Share it with us here in the community here on YouTube. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day.